7:39 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0739 Welsh Assembly needs 20 or 30 extra members, says expert panel. 6:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0658 Jessica Elgot Momentum have released a Christmas-themed campaign advert, this time focused on post office closures. The advert, which has been devised with the Communication Workers Union, is filmed in the style of a John Lewis advert where a man devotes weeks up until Christmas to fix an old friend's cuckoo clock but is thwarted at the last moment. Momentum Xmas video. The grassroots group has released a number of spiky viral videos, including one of a middle-class garden party where older voters discussed Jeremy Corbyn's policies, which Conservatives said pitted older voters against the young. 6:52 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0652 Peter Walker. Downing Street has been doing its very best to not react to Guy Verhofstadt's comments. See 11:26 a.m. That trust has been damaged by David Davis commenting that last week's initial Brexit deal was only a statement of intent. Theresa May's spokesman said he had no direct comment on Verhofstadt's tweet to this effect, and sought to play down any disagreement. He told journalists the Secretary of State set out yesterday, and the Commission agreed with him, that the agreement that was reached last week is a political agreement, but that will move forward into a withdrawal agreement, which will be legally binding. Asked about plans by the European Parliament to vote on a draft resolution on Wednesday to agree tougher wording on the agreement, the spokesman said even less. He said there is a process to follow in terms of the withdrawal agreement. That's all been set out already. In terms of draft guidelines, I've never commented on those and won't start now. A Westminster Council cleaner in Downing Street walks past the Christmas tree. Photographed in Indra Hari RX Shutterstock. Updated at 6:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 6:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0637 6:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0634 6:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0626 MEPs will toughen the Brexit demands after David Davis unhelpful interview, says Verhofstadt. Tomorrow the European Parliament will debate a resolution on Brexit. According to Guy Verhofstadt, the Parliament's lead Brexit spokesman, MEPs are going to toughen the demands in the light of what David Davis said in his Andrew Marr show interview on Sunday, because Davis implied the UK government was not fully committed to what it had agreed. Davis had to use an interview yesterday to clarify his stance, claiming that his words at the weekend has been misunderstood. Verhofstadt tweeted this. Guy Verhofstadt at Guy Verhofstadt. Remarks by David Davis that Phase 1 deal last week not binding were unhelpful, undermines trust. EP text will now reflect this, insist agreement translated into legal text ASAP. Brexit, December 12, 2017. A report in today's Times paywall quotes other EU sources as being unhappy with what Davis said. It says EU officials and diplomats were irritated by Mr. Davis's remark at the weekend that the withdrawal agreement was just a statement of intent. It's not helpful if people cast everything into doubt 24 hours later, one source said. The Times says that, in order to ensure the UK does not try to wriggle out of the commitments it made in the UK-EU Brexit deal, EU leaders will demand that Britain legislates as quickly as possible to implement what it promised. The European Council actually set this out in draft guidelines issued on Friday PDF. They say negotiations in the second phase can only progress as long as all commitments undertaken during the first phase are respected in full and translated faithfully in legal terms as quickly as possible. According to a report by The Telegraph's James Crisp paywall, the European Parliament resolution will also say the UK should keep paying into the EU budget in return for a trade deal. He says MEPs are likely to back a resolution, obtained by the Telegraph, that says Britain and the EU should sign an association agreement, which would be coupled with a free trade deal. The EU has many such association agreements with other countries. The treaties, which give a legal basis for cooperation, are used in some cases as a preliminary step towards EU membership, but also for non-European nations such as Libya and Azerbaijan. The draft text, prepared by 5 pro-EU political groups, insists that MEPs will only accept the association agreement if it strictly adhered to conditions including commensurate financial contributions by Britain. Guy Verhofstadt. Photograph Patrick Sagaripa. 5:57 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0557 Majority of voters think Brexit going badly. Poll suggests the latest Guardian Econ polling is out today, and there is Good news and bad news for Theresa May. Brexit going well or badly? First, the bad news for May. A majority of people, 51%, think the Brexit process is going badly, the poll suggests. Only 21% think it is going well. What is striking is that ICM generated this result even though polling was carried out between Friday and Sunday, when news coverage was dominated by mostly positive reports about May managing to secure a Brexit deal early on Friday morning. Here are the detailed figures. People were asked overall how they thought the Brexit process was going. Very well 4%, quite well 17%, net well 21%, neither well or badly 23%, quite badly 29%, very badly 22%, net badly 51%, don't know 6%. ICM's Alex Turk writes, whilst some within the Conservative Party have heralded the first stage of negotiations as a success for Britain, it's clear that the British public are less enthusiastic about how the Brexit process is going. Only 1 in 5 Brits, 21%, think Brexit is going well, with a majority 51% thinking it is going badly. Conservative voters are the most likely to think the Brexit process is going well, 39%, more so than Leavers at the 2016 referendum, 28%. Whilst those who voted Remain at the 2016 referendum are more likely to think Brexit is going badly than Leavers. It's worth noting the substantial minority, 41% of those who voted Leave in 2016, that think the Brexit process is going badly. Second referendum. Then we asked about a second referendum. Around a third of voters want a second referendum on leaving the EU. The poll suggests this is higher than when we last asked this question in January, when around a quarter of voters were in favour, but supporters of a second referendum are still easily outnumbered by those saying Brexit should go ahead come what may. Respondents were given 3 possible Brexit outcomes and asked which they would prefer. The results were UK leaving, regardless of what happens in negotiations, 45% down, 8 from Guardianicum in January, Parliament to decide whether the UK leaves, based on the outcome of negotiations, 10% down, 2 a second referendum to let people decide based on the outcome of the negotiations, 32% up, 6 don't know, 13% up, 4 leave or remain. We also asked how people would vote if there was another EU referendum tomorrow. Remain would be ahead of Leave by 3 points if there were another referendum tomorrow, the poll suggests. Some 46% of respondents said they would vote Remain and 43% said they would vote Leave. At the referendum in June last year, Leave won by 52% to 48%. Turk writes, if there was another referendum tomorrow, 46% of our poll's respondents say they would vote Remain, a slim lead over the 43% who would vote Leave. Overall, this marks very little change from the 2016 referendum result, as evidenced by the 91% of 2016 Remainers and 87% of 2016 Leavers not changing their vote choice. Nevertheless, it looks like there may be a slight trend towards Remain benefiting over Leave since the 2016 referendum. Of those who either didn't vote or can't remember their vote in 2016, almost twice as many say they would vote for Remain, 28% rather than Leave, 15% at a future referendum. Party support, and here are the state of the party findings. The Conservatives have a 12-point lead over Labour, the poll suggests. The last 6 polls have had the Conservatives and Labour tied. This broadly reflects the findings of a YouGov poll for The Times out today, giving the Conservatives their first lead over Labour since June, although it is just 1 point. Conservatives 42% up, 1 from Guardianicum 2 weeks ago, Labour 40% down, 1. Lib Dems 8% up, 1. UKIP 5% no change, Greens 2% down, 1. Conservative lead 2 points up, 2. I will post a link to the tables here, as soon as they go up on the ICM website. Update: here is the ICM write-up of the poll. And here are the tables PDF. ICM Unlimited interviewed a representative online sample of 2006 adults aged 18 on 8 to 10 December 2017. Interviews were conducted across the country and the results have been weighted to the profile of all adults. ICM is a member of the British Polling Council and abides by its rules. Updated at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:46 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 0546, 5:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 0532, 5:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 0516, 4:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 0459 Clive. Lewis cleared over sexual harassment claim. 4:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0436 Inflation rose to 3.1% in November. 4:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 0431 Almost all potential Brexit outcomes will leave UK worse off, says US think tank. The government may not have produced any Brexit impact assessments, but a major American think tank, the RAND Corporation, has, and its findings are grim. It has looked at 8 possible Brexit outcomes for the UK, and only one of them leads to the UK being better off after 10 years. That scenario involves a potential trilateral UK-EU-US free trade agreement, which the authors say is very unlikely in the current political environment on both sides of the Atlantic. All 7 other scenarios would lead to the UK being worse off after 10 years, the report says. Leaving the EU with no deal and operating under World Trade Organization (WTO) rules would lead to the greatest economic loss for the UK, reducing GDP by nearly 5%, or $140 billion, 10 years after Brexit, compared with EU membership. Other trade scenarios could be better for the UK than WTO rules but still lead to economic losses compared with EU membership. These include hard Brexit scenarios, such as a UK-EU free trade agreement, net UK GDP decline of 1.9% 10 years after Brexit, UK-US free trade agreement 2.5% decline, a UK-EU transitional zero tariff agreement 2.1% decline, and soft Brexit scenarios, such as the Norway option 1.7% decline, Switzerland option 2.4% decline, a remaining part of the customs union 1.8% decline. Patrick Wintour's overnight story about the report's findings are here. The RAND Corporation's press release summarizing the report is here. An 11-page executive summary is here, PDF. And the full 159-page report is here, PDF. On the Today program, Charles Rees, a RAND Corporation vice president and one of the report's authors, explained why Brexit would be so bad for the British economy. The European Union's single market is essentially friction trade in goods and services, no inspection across the border, the same standards and conformity with assessment practices everywhere, and, importantly, really very open access for British services. And services are the powerhouse behind the British economy. And so not having all of those things will affect the British economy. Here is the agenda for the day. 9:30 a.m. Ed Miliband, the former Labour leader, speaks at the launch of a Resolution Foundation report on a higher minimum wage. 9:30 a.m. Inflation figures are published. 10:15 a.m. Brandon Lewis, the immigration minister, gives evidence to a Lords Committee on Citizens' Rights. Around 12:45 p.m. MPs began Day 6 of the EU Withdrawal Bill Committee stage debate. Votes will take place at about 8:45 p.m. 1:30 p.m. Damien Green, the first Secretary of State, and David Davis, the Brexit Secretary, attend the Joint Ministerial Committee (JMC) meeting with ministers from the devolved administrations. 2 p.m. Sir Patrick McLauchlan, the Conservative Party chairman, gives evidence to a Lords Committee looking at polling and digital media. As usual, I will be covering breaking political news as it happens, as well as bringing you the best reaction, comment and analysis from the web. I plan to post a summary at lunchtime and another in the afternoon. You can read all today's Guardian politics stories here. Here is the Politico Europe roundup of this morning's political news from Jack Blanchard's playbook. Here is the Conservative Home roundup of today's political stories. And here is the Politico Show May list of today top 10 must-reads. If you want to follow me or contact me on Twitter, I'm on @AndrewSparrow. I try to monitor the comments BTL, but normally I find it impossible to read them all. If you have a direct question, do include Andrew in it somewhere and I'm more likely to find it. I do try to answer direct questions, although sometimes I miss them or don't have time. If you want to attract my attention quickly, it is probably better to use Twitter. Updated at 6:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.